Hey guys, it's Zach from the Concon channel, and in this video I'm going to give you the best tips and tricks for new players in the Rogue Prince of Persia. Now the first tip has to do with the Well of Dreams, which is the teleporter that can be found in each biome. There are multiple teleporters in each biome, and once you start collecting teleporters, you'll be able to interact with them to teleport between them. Now in order to collect and activate the teleporters, you actually do not need to interact with them. You just need to get close enough to the teleporter for the lights to switch on. But if you do interact with them, you'll be able to see different things on the map, such as chest symbols, merchant children, and NPCs. So it's best to try and collect as many teleporters in each biome as possible before proceeding to the next area. Now the next tip has to do with the merchant children who sell goods in exchange for coins. They will either spawn in the open world or in secret rooms, but once you have found them, they will always sell a weapon, a tool, a medallion, and a large health potion, and they will always spawn next to a teleporter. If you do not have enough coins to purchase any of the items at the time you find the merchant children, you can always proceed through the mission until you get enough coins, and then if you find a teleporter, you'll be able to find the merchant children on the map with the coin symbol next to a teleporter, and then you can just teleport right back to them. Now let's talk about medallions. Medallions are very powerful items that trigger special effects, and they can be found in chests, shops, and from bosses. Now when you get a medallion, you have 4 slots that you can put the medallion in, and you'll see that when there is a green star available, that means that that slot will be upgraded. So as you can see, we placed a medallion in the 2nd slot, and the 3rd and 4th slot had 1 upgrade point. Now with the 2nd medallion that we have, we can see that if we place it in the 1st slot, that it will upgrade our 2nd medallion slot. And you'll see that if we place it in the 3rd slot, it will upgrade the 4th slot medallion to level 2. So whichever medallion we place in that 4th slot will already be upgraded twice. As you can see, we have our 3rd medallion now, and if we place it in the 1st slot, the 3rd slot will get a 2nd upgrade, and the 1st medallion will be destroyed. Now you must remember, if you are replacing medallions, you have the chance of losing the upgrade as well as destroying the medallion. You can see here, now that we have 4 medallions and we are going to replace one, you'll see that when there is a red barrier around the star, that means that you will lose an upgrade point on your 3rd medallion. And you'll see that now, if we place the medallion in the 3rd slot, we'll actually get an upgrade to our 2nd medallion, and we will not lose our upgrades on our 3rd medallion slot. So it can be a little bit tricky, but all you need to do is just look at the green and red barriers around these stars when replacing and placing medallions. Now my next tip is going to be Spirit Glimmer. Spirit Glimmer are very useful as they allow you to unlock new items in the oasis to use for future runs, and can be collected as items or obtained through enemy drops. When you are collecting your Spirit Glimmer throughout the stage that you are in, make sure to deposit it into the Soul Brazier, which is this interactable item right here. Now if you look in the top right hand corner, the white text is all the Spirit Glimmer that you have collected in the stage or biome, and the purple text is all the Spirit Glimmer that has been stored and deposited into your oasis. That means you can then forge items to use on your next runs. Now the next tip that I have for you is to try and find Astara, which is the blacksmith. Now I found them by just going off the path, so instead of going straight, I just decided to roam and explore, and I ended up finding the blacksmith at the bottom of this area. Now when you go to Astara, the cool thing is that you can upgrade your weapon level as well as its damage per second, but the bonus to it is that if you are contemplating whether you want to upgrade your weapon or if you don't want to waste the coins, they actually give you max health when you upgrade your weapon. So in this case, I was actually weak, and you'll see that as soon as I upgraded my weapon, I got to full HP. Cool thing about the blacksmith as well is that they spawn next to a teleporter, so if you go to the teleporter, you'll actually be able to teleport back to them, and you'll see them because they'll appear as a green sword. Now the next tip that I have for you is to always go into the golden rooms. Now I call them the secret rooms, but once you see them, you cannot miss them. It is essentially a door with a bright glowing opening, and you can enter into them by interacting with the door. Now they can have various things in them and activities to do, like in this one room I found an equipment chest which unlocked a new equipment that I could forge in my oasis. In another I had a chest, and in this other one I had a blood altar, which essentially you have to sacrifice 250 health points to get a random but powerful item. Now the next tip that I'm going to give you is the best way to climb walls without needing platforms or something to grab onto. Now for reference, The walls on the side of the room I call the side walls, and let's just call the wall that you can climb up the front wall. So that will be the wall in the middle of the room. In order to actually climb the best way possible without needing platforms is to jump onto the side wall and do the side wall climb, and then to jump off and start climbing the front wall, and then to jump off the front wall back to the side wall, climb the side wall, jump back onto the front wall and climb the front wall, and so on and so on until you get to where you need to be. I found this to be quite efficient and quite effective in getting me into places that I thought I could not reach. Now the next tip is going to be a combat tip. This is a little trick that I found out, but pretty much if you don't feel like stringing combos to defeat enemies, you can always kick them into spikes, or you can kick them off high ledges to kill them. Now another combat tip that I have for you is actually vaulting. Now vaulting is super good in this game, as enemies cannot change direction when doing their attack animation. So whenever there are multiple enemies, it's best to vault over them, or even if it's a singular enemy, it's quite easy to take them out. Now tip number 10 is dying is actually not a bad thing. And the reason I say this is because when you die, there's actually pop-up vendors that spawn after each death. Eventually they'll spawn and you'll be able to interact with the vendors. Now the first vendor that you'll come across will be the Sucre vendor, which will essentially show you all the weapons that you have found in the game, as well as all the information about the weapons, as well as the tools. It'll do the same for the tools. If you unlock the tools via the equipment chest, when you die, you'll be able to then forge them at the vendor, and then you'll also be able to see the information about the tools. Now, the second vendor that will pop up after a few deaths is the Apache vendor, which will pretty much show you all the medallions you can forge and all the information on the medallions that you have found in your runs. And the reason why it's not a bad thing to die is because if you read up on the info about the medallions, tools, and weapons, you'll be able to know exactly what kind of build and the type of run you want to have. So you can pretty much plan out how you're going to do each run. Each run can be different based on the style that you want to play in. What's also important is if you find equipment chests in each stage, once you have unlocked the weapon through the equipment chest, it will be available for forging back at the oasis. Another quick combat tip is that if you want to deal a lot of damage to multiple enemies at once, what you can do is actually stun them and charge your weapon up, as the period in which they are stunned is long enough for you to charge up your attack and deal your lethal blow of mass damage. And it is quite effective for dealing a lot of damage to multiple enemies, or even one-shotting enemies. Now the final tip that I have for you guys is to not rush the biomes. The reason I say this is because the boss fights in this game are quite difficult and you want to be as prepared as possible. Now I recommend exploring the biome to the best of your abilities, because you might find something useful like equipment chests or the blacksmith to help upgrade your weapons and deal more damage. It's been Zach from the Concon channel. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.